and I ought to have it. And I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. There's a good for me, and I ought to have it. A good for me, and I ought to have it. Claim you're good.
Anton Miserak, thank you so much, in his beautiful tailored shirt that you got where? Nepal? Kathmandu. In my color, and you match the decor. How cool is that? Good morning, everybody. You know what? I guess I should say what I usually say, but it's so good to see you sitting up front. What is it with these chairs instead of the pews? You're all up. It feels more intimate. It's lovely. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome. I'm Kimberly Hawkins I'm still the senior minister here for Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in partnership with Unity of Medford. I'm really happy to be here. I have a couple people to introduce. Is there anybody here for the very first time? I don't see any new faces. Yeah, Corey. Okay. All right. We're all old timers here. That's sweet. We are, I like to say, a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive faith community. And we have recently sold our pews. I think I mentioned last week, one went to a winery, one went to a private Catholic school who's setting up a chapel. They sent us pictures. It's just lovely that our good became someone else's good. We made enough money to help pay for it. We need about 20 more chairs. And so several of you have already bought a chair or two, so thank you. We're still looking for more. They're a little more expensive than we thought they were going to be. Yeah. But people are saying they're comfy and it's a little more updated, and you're sitting up close. I love it. Let's see, I have some people to introduce. Karen Jordan is our practitioner doing the invocation and reading this morning. Rev Kim Bebo did our meditation and is sitting high watch, praying throughout the service. And of course, you've already heard Anton Mizrak going solo today as our musician. Delighted to have him here as well. Let's acknowledge our video crew. So Tom Frederick, our wonderful sound engineer, Corey Rennick heading up our video crew now, Viv Lacey on the slides, and Shannon Schnibby. And Connie, are you here or are you just not on duty today? Connie and Bill are enjoying. How sweet is that? Yeah. And have I made the announcement about our new youth director yet? Have I? Well, I'll make it again. Reverend Laura Stewart, stand up, Laura, is our new youth minister. And yeah. So Laura's having an organizational meeting with all our volunteer, not volunteer, but all our facilitators on October 12th. So see her if you're interested in helping out. And so excited because Laura has great energy and great ideas to bring in youth and families. So that's awesome. Before we go on, I do have a bit of sad news. Some of you have heard. Our beloved community member, Matt Belzano, made his transition this past week. And I'm so sorry. I know some of you are hearing this for the first time. A beloved member of our men's group, and just a light and a big personality and a generous donor. And I'm still not completely processed that. I'm sure it'll take us a while. The good news is he wasn't sick. He just went, and I am darn sure that he's lighting up the heavens with that personality of his, right? So just let's keep him and his family. You know, Corey Rennick is the son of Linda Gray, who was the stepchild of Matt, and her mom, Jackie Belzano, was a minister, Science of Mind minister. So we're sending love to Corey and Linda and the whole family. Keep them in your prayers, if you will. So let's take a collective deep breath. Collective deep breath. I'm going to turn things over to Anton to prepare us for our invocation and reading, which may be one and the same today. And please hold your applause after this particular number. Thank you.
Within you, deep peace within you, may peace be upon you. Deep peace be upon you. The peace within shines without like a sun, and it's only just begun. So breathe, just breathe. So breathe, just breathe. Tat dvam asi, tat dvam asi, the light without and your light within are the same, just a different name. So breathe, just breathe. So breathe, just breathe.
Good morning. This is a prayer written by Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson. A spirit is calling, and I thought of Matt. And so we bless him as we say this prayer and do this reading. If you just softly close your eyes and breathe. Breathe in and out. Between the finite inhale and the exhale of the breath, there is perfect stillness. This perfect stillness is also found in the finite contraction and expansion of your heart as it beats. And in the silence between each finite thought that you think and each finite word that you speak, feel the stillness. In this perfect stillness, the infinite expresses, and this infinite is but another name for the one, that which is all there is, that which is God. With each breath that you are breathed, be reminded that the life you live is God life. It is love itself living you, and that all is divinely right, perfect, harmoniously whole, and illuminated with the presence of love. Feel that love. With each beat of your heart, each cycle of your breathing, and each conscious thought, hear, feel, and know on a level that is beyond words the very call of spirit. In the stillness, I hear Spirit calling to each of us to surrender and allow your words to be creative. In the stillness, feel Spirit calling to you to stand in the truth of your being. Allow all of your actions to be of service. In the stillness, know that Spirit is calling to each of us to raise the consciousness in absolute certainty of the infinite oneness of creation that is moving in, with, through, and as each of us. Such joy and gratitude well up as we embody these sweet words of truth being expressed, knowing that these are the words of Spirit speaking of itself. Right here, right now. It is in the stillness, the silence, the space between each breath, each heartbeat, and in the timeless space of each thought, that I feel the ever-expanding vast potentiality and possibilities of infinity being created, demonstrated, and expressed in ways that leave our imaginations in absolute awe. It is in this state of joyous awe and receptivity to the call of Spirit that we acknowledge each of those beautiful people who are in service to this community: technicians, kitchen crew, ushers, ministers, practitioners, teachers. We are so grateful for that service to our community. And we bless Matt as he dances in yet another beautiful community. He'll be there waiting for us when we join him, laughing and hugging each and every one of us. And so I now confidently release these words into the law, where I know they are formed perfectly, wholly, and magnificently. Knowing that it is already so, I live this prayer and release it as I exclaim and say with each of us, and so it is. Thank you, God. Amen.
We were going to have a really upbeat piece here, but we're not. We are the crown of creation, nature becoming conscious of herself, swimming in an ocean of sensation. discovering the vastness of our wealth. These times are the times of great mystery. These times are the times of great choice. As we answer the call of our own destiny, we must each speak our own truth with our own voice. And if there's one great light, we must find it all. And if there's one great peace, we must find it all. If there's a oneness in life, we must find it all in our hearts. And these times are times of great trials, but these times can be times of great hope. These times may be times of personal struggles, but these times can be times of limitless growth. And if there's one great light, we must find it all. And if there's one great peace, we must find it all. If there's a oneness in life, we must find it all in our hearts. Find it all in our hearts. Find it here in our heart.
Anton Miserak, you are such a gift. Who knew? We usually do an upbeat song so that I can get up here all energized, and it just wasn't appropriate. It was a hard transition. Thank you for recognizing that and for choosing a beautiful piece instead. Isn't he wonderful? Yeah. And thank you to Karen for that beautiful prayer. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to honor and recognize the people watching us online, either live or later. We have a lot of people that join us virtually, which is so sweet. So let's all take a deep breath. Yeah. We are starting a series, and I'm excited to be starting this series called Adventures in Faith. You may remember one year we had a committee to plan the theme, and we had people marching up the aisles with singing in the rain with the umbrellas. Remember that? It's a tradition in many Science of Mind churches in the fall to do a series about prosperity. It used to be called Adventures in Prosperity, but we changed the name some time ago to Adventures in Faith because prosperity, abundance, exists always. And of course, when we talk about abundance, God's abundance, we're talking about money, but we're talking about a whole lot more than money. We're talking about all the good that we can receive, be it vibrant health, healthy, loving, harmonious relationships, an ability to give our gifts and have fulfilling work, creative expression. All of it is the abundance that's ever available to us, but we don't receive it unless we can be open to receive it, and we don't receive it without faith, right? So really, if it's a chicken or egg thing, I don't know which is which, but I know that faith has to come first. And it kind of reminded me, you'll remember when we first came out of COVID, we were partnering with UCC Medford, United Church of Christ, and they have a committee which is now called the Justice and Peace Committee. They're committed to choosing different projects to do what we call spiritually motivated social activism, fighting for equality and justice in the world. And it used to be called the Peace and Justice Committee, which kind of flows off the tongue better, the Peace and Justice Committee. But they decided, you know what? There's no peace without justice, right? While we still have racism, inequality, the huge divide between the haves and have-nots, while we still have hatred and all kinds of other stuff going on, whether it's homophobia, whatever you want to, sexism, there is no real peace until we have justice. And there is no real enjoying of the prosperous and abundant life that Spirit has in mind for each of us without faith. So I'm excited to be starting this new adventure in faith with you all. You know, Albert Einstein said, you probably have heard this before, he was asked once by a reporter, of all the questions that you've asked about the mysteries of the universe, if you had to pick one important question for us to answer for ourselves, what would that be? And his answer was, is the universe a friendly place? How we answer that question affects everything. It affects how much good we can embody and receive. It affects how we respond when we don't receive quite what we want at a given time. How do we respond? How do we react? It affects our relationships and how we see others. It affects everything. Is the universe a friendly place? So our founder of Science of Mind answered that question for us. He wrote this: we must know definitely and consistently that the universe is for us and not against us. Consistently. You know, we believe we receive what is in our consciousness, the preponderance of our thoughts. So it's not like we never have thoughts about fear or lack. We're human. But what is the preponderance? Can we turn those thoughts of lack and fear around quickly and remember that God's good is infinite? It's unlimited. So my talk this morning, I've entitled Creating the Mold. Creating the Mold. And I had a thing going back and forth. I panicked for a moment thinking I had spelled mold wrong. I've been cleaning my bathroom mold this week. You know, and all the cleanup that's going on in our household, we had like mildew and mold, and I got the tile in our main bathroom looking great. And I saw the word M-O-U-L-D, which I thought, oh no, I spelled it wrong. And I thought creating mildew is my talk. But it turns out M-O-U-L-D is the verb, to mold something. And M-O-L-D is in fact the container that you create. So for once in the marketing of the talk, I don't know if you noticed, I quoted myself. And I said, what the heck does pig iron have to do with my prosperity? Without answering, does anybody know the answer? Laura does. Of course you do. Yeah. So here's the deal. Ernest Holmes, our founder in the Science of Mind textbook, wrote about creating the mold that we have to hold up. Now, pig iron, I learned this week, it's crude iron. It's that interim product that when we create steel. And it's melted down and it's poured into molds. And I think we have a slide to show this. It's poured into molds. And pig iron takes the shape of whatever mold it's given. And the reason it's called pig iron, I learned, is because they used to do ingots, like blocks, and pour them, the pig iron into the blocks, but there was a big block in the middle called the runner or the sow, and all the little ingots were piglets that connected to the sow at right angles, and when they broke them off, they were the piglets. So that's how it got the name pig iron. Okay, so what does it have to do with prosperity? Here's what Ernest Holmes said. The iron itself neither knows nor cares what particular form it takes. It is formless, ready to take any form supplied. If we didn't place it in the proper molds, the liquid would assume no particular form. So, let's go to the Science of Mind teaching symbol. Some of you are familiar with this, right? This is kind of back to basics, but there's nuances here that I want to talk about today. So this is a symbol that represents, the V represents the descent of spirit into form. Consciousness, universal intelligence, descending into form. And that symbol is used as a symbol for what goes on in the macrocosm. In other words, at the top third there is the thought or the word of the divine. And what the divine thinks is then descended into what we call the soil, the creative medium, the unformed substance. There is universal energy everywhere. It's formless. We know this from quantum physics, right? Things exist in particle or wave form, and they exist in wave form until we observe them, and then they become particles that we can see. So the top is the thought of God. The middle is the responsiveness of, like soil that receives a seed. We often say the top is the seed, the thought. The middle is the soil, which nurtures the thought. And the bottom third is what we see and experience. It's the whole manifest universe. God created, right? The word, let there be light, and there was light. On the microscopic realm, our thought in the top is seeded into the law or the creative medium or the soil, and what it produces is the conditions and the experiences and the things in our life. So, if we're thinking thoughts of lack and we're not holding up a very big container, that pig iron, that unformed substance, doesn't quite know what to do, or it falls into a mold that was negative. We also, there's another term in our teaching for this. It's called the mental equivalent. We have to create a mental equivalent of what it is we'd like to experience. So if we're focused, for example, this election period, in all the divisiveness and the vitriolic language and the feelings of they and you know, them and us, we're creating a nasty mold. We're probably creating the mold like the mold in my bathroom, right? Who knew I was going to talk about mildew today? I didn't know that. But, you know, if we focus on the truth, which is we're each children of God, even when we disagree with each other, even when we're going to vote differently, even when we have different values, that we focus on the truth. The mold we're holding up is one for peace. There can be no peace without justice. There can be no peace without truth, that we're one. So the mental equivalent. And you know, if you've read Abraham Hicks, you know, Abraham, the entity that Esther Hicks has channeled, she talks about this, or they, the entities, talk about this all the time. What you do is you go into your workshop and you think about what it is you want to experience. So, you know, in the past, science of mind has been very focused, and so is Unity, on individual good. Nothing wrong with that. But I want to push us to the next level, because we can do the same thing to wish good and envision good for the world. We talk about a world that works for everyone. Well, let's get busy and create the mold, right? Let's get busy and envision that and feel what it feels like. So Abraham Hicks says you go into your workshop, you think about what you want to experience, and then you feel the feelings of what it would be like to experience that. So can you feel the feelings of what it would be like to have a world where there was equality and justice and respect? Wow. That's the mold I want us to hold up. That's the mental equivalent. I want to read to you briefly. This is a shortened version of our global vision for Centers for Spiritual Living. We see a world that works for everyone. So maybe you could just close your eyes and let's feel what it would feel like. Let's create the mental equivalent of what this would be like. We see a world that works for everyone, where all life is honored as an expression of the divine, where people live according to spiritual truth, where humanity awakens to its spiritual magnificence, where humanity rediscovers personal creative power, where we live as one global family, where kinship with all life prospers, where unity and connection are emphasized, where forgiveness is the norm, where spiritual guidance is valued, where we are called to conscious social action, where all people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging. where there is peace, harmony, and justice for all, where resources are valued, cared for, and shared, where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world, where there is a renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, creativity, art, and aesthetics. We envision a world that works for everyone and all creation. Let's just take a moment to feel what that feels like, to have that world that works for all. Thank you, Anton, and thank you, everyone. Can you imagine if we all spent time in that vision every day, what might happen, especially as we lead up to our election? It's powerful, powerful stuff we've been given. So part of this question of our mental equivalent is, what receptacle are we holding up to the divine? Are we surrendered? Are we listening? Are we willing to not be attached to specifics? Because another thing about this thing about mental equivalence, there's a balancing act between seeing what we want to experience and outlining exactly how and when it happens. So for instance, if we're praying on a personal level for a new job, if we get attached to a certain job and, by gosh, this is mine and I want it and I'm going to be really disappointed if it doesn't happen, that's not a very good way to go about it. But if we say, this job has a lot of the qualities I'd like and I deserve it, there's a good for me and I should have it, right? But Spirit, infinite intelligence, knows so much more than I do. And there might be an even more wonderful job out there. So I'm just knowing that I deserve it, I command it, I embody it, and let's let God, Spirit, infinite intelligence, figure out the timing and the details. This or something better. So that's a balance. So the other balance I think we have to have is, yes, the universe is a friendly place, but it doesn't always feel that way, right? So we as spiritual journeyers have to get used to being comfortable with paradoxes and uncertainty. And the truth is, when it seems like there's chaos, and it surely does right now in a lot of venues, I think you'd agree, let's trust that, yes, there's chaos, but we can be spiraled up through the chaos to something grander and bigger, that it's an avenue for something better. All things work together for the good for those who love God, right? That's my favorite proverb. So, I'm losing my train of thought. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I know why I'm losing my train of thought. I wanted to share a personal example here. And it's a little raw, and I know my mentors always said, share your personal stuff, but not until you're all the way through it. I'm not quite all the way through this one. I think my ego was going, don't say that. But I think it's a good example. So I'm teaching this class, and a lot of you were in it. We've got 16 people in it, called The Mystical Path. And I, as busy as I am, I couldn't teach the one class I wanted because the book was out of print, The 5 Gifts. And I saw the title, The Mystical Path, and thought, this is it. And I didn't read the whole curriculum before I offered it. And as I got into it, I'm not that crazy about it. Now, that's not a big deal, you might say, except it is for me. Because I, like so many, I've said before in here, I've never met a person who doesn't embody some form of, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, something's wrong with me. I have that as my chronic pattern, believe it or not. I mean, I've done a lot of healing, and how it is, you heal one layer of the onion skin, but then another one comes up, and like you gotta peel that one, and it's not fun. Well, what came up for me is I have 16 people signed up for this class, and I want to give them a deep dive, and I don't know that it's going to happen. And I started to feel down, which is unusual for me, as you know me. And I realized it was my chronic pattern of I'm not worthy, coming from my abuse as a child. Many of us have it for different reasons. And I feel like I have to prove my worth every single day of my life. And I am sick and tired of that. I am sick and tired of that, for me and for everyone. So this may not turn out to be the best class in the world. I'm doing my darndest to know, to do it, and I'm enlisting help because there's some awesome people in the class who have great experiences and things to share. But you see what I'm saying? This is chaos for me in that I started to get depressed, but it's also an opportunity for me to grow through this and do another piece of, I am done with that pattern. I release my belief that I'm not worthy. I release the need to prove I'm okay. I'm grateful. This is the Fear to Faith prayer that you guys, I've done it with a lot of you guys. I am grateful. I am the goodness, the light that God is. Thank you. And then, the universe delivered this wonderful gift, because I'm struggling with this week. And I had Jordan Pease, who's not here today, good friend of me and a good friend of this community, organize this little surprise. There's a speakeasy in Medford. Did you guys know that? It's called the Butterfly Club, and it is amazing. It's near Tinseltown, and it's like the old speakeasies during Prohibition. So there's a barbershop as the front, and they're cutting people's hair in the barbershop. And you walk through the barbershop, there's a secret door. It doesn't say butterfly, and you knock, and you have to have a password, and you go in, and this is this incredible nightclub with amazing food. And so there were like maybe 7 of us. It was an intimate gathering that Jordan so beautifully organized. It was a surprise. Vivian told me there was something going on. I needed to save the date. I didn't know where we were going or what was going to happen. So we had this birthday celebration a week after my birthday. And at the end, one of the people there said, let's take time to tell Kimberly what we love about her, what we appreciate about her. So do you see what the universe did? Here I am struggling with this stuff, and all this beautiful stuff came out. And it had nothing to do with what I do, really. It had to do with who I am, how I show up, how they see me. And so it was another balm on that wound. So, we need to trust the chaos. We need to trust that even our challenges are an opportunity, that Spirit is there if we listen, if we allow. It is incredibly, incredibly wonderful. Divine chaos can spiral us up. So, I want us to hold this vision, hold this mental equivalent, hold this mold, if you will, for our own lives, but also for the lives of our planet, of our global community. There's a yard banner. Some of you have seen. I don't think I gave you that little picture. I can't remember what's the third picture I gave you guys? I know, the affirmation. So there's this yard banner. I wanted to read this to you. I love it. And it's got the American flag on it, and it looks like patriotic, but I kind of want to reclaim the flag because there's certain things the flag has come to mean, right? So here's what the yard banner says. Make Americans kind again. Show respect. Be compassionate. Love thy neighbor. Restore Mother Earth. Abolish hatred. Yeah. That's my banner. So in closing here, some of you remember in our original foundations class, we used to do a trust walk. Anybody did the trust walk where you got blindfolded, right, Ellen? And you got led by your partner. I remember when we did it at the offices, I told people you can go inside or outside. And so you're completely blindfolded and you're just trusting your partner to lead you to different places and experiences safely, including outside. There's another experience I've done with young people when we did ropes courses called a trust fall. Has anybody ever done that? Yeah, lots of you, right? So you're partnered again, hopefully with somebody at least your size, and otherwise it might do damage to our trust. And you just stand here, the person's behind you, and you just let yourself fall and be caught and be safe. And so I'm going to suggest that we practice the trust fall with the universe this fall leading up to the election, that we trust that we can fall, that the arms of the divine are always there to catch us, no matter how ugly or painful or scary or confusing life is, that there is this presence, this power that loves us beyond our human ability to understand, to trust, to surrender, and to continue to create that mold for a world that works for all, in addition to a life that works for me. Are you with me? Yeah. All right, let's go into prayer. So what I know, again, is that there is this presence, this power, infinite good, this benevolent presence that's everywhere, all-powerful, all-knowing. Nothing is impossible with the divine. And the truth is, we are it. We are part of it. We are that drop in the ocean that is God. We are the abundance. We are the goodness, the love, the peace, you name it. Any quality we use to describe the divine is the truth with a capital T about each of us. We can't be separate from it. But we need to remember that this beautiful teaching of ours can be used not only to create a mold for what works for my life, but to create a mold, to create a mental equivalent of a world where we are truly being the spiritually magnificent beings we were sent here to be, and that we recognize that in each and every other person on the planet. So I know this week, as we together as a community practice the trust fall, practice the trust walk, because in effect we are blind to what's going to happen in the future. We don't know. If we listen and follow guidance, everything works together for the good. So I know as we begin this adventures in prosperity, adventures in faith, not only are we blessed, our community is blessed, our neighborhood is blessed, our state, our country, the world is blessed, that we send reverberations out to everybody. And before I end this prayer, as I often like to do, I want to bless not only us, those watching online, Matt's family. I want to bless all that are worshiping today or yesterday, if you are Jews. Jews are worshiping on their Sabbath, or Friday. Anybody who's worshiping in a mosque, a temple, an ashram, a yoga mat. We are one. There is one Creator, many paths to get there. And we can practice, as we have begun to talk about in our mystical path class, inter-spirituality. One spirituality, expressing as different religions, but one mystic truth. One God, one people, one life. I am so grateful for this opportunity to speak truth, for those sitting here, for those listening online, for our music. I am grateful beyond measure for the growth that the Spirit is offering me and offering each one of us, even through the chaos. I release this word knowing it is heard, it is answered, and I invite us to say together, and so it is.
The nice thing about being the only musician, I get to pick the next piece. And boy, I mean, so many topics. Are we open to self-love? Or do we want to do a spiritual sadhana? Because we've done so much good work already. The Tibetans say that you can take that energy and dedicate it. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to take that energy and put it into a mold of peace in the Middle East. So I'm going to sing a song, Yavo Shalom Aleinu, may peace prevail on earth. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, may more peace prevail on earth. Then the Arabic word salam, peace. Aleinu ve'al ku alam, ko alam salam, salam. So just, you can either, if you know any Hebrew, you can sing with me. If you don't, just take all this good energy we've generated, put it in that mold for peace. Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Ku'olam. Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Ku'olam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'alam. Salam, salam. salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'alam, salam, salam. Yavo shalom aleinu, Yavo shalom aleinu, Od Yavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Yavo shalom aleinu, Yavo shalom aleinu, Od Yavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'alam, salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'alam, salam, salam. Yavo shalom aleinu, Yavo shalom aleinu, Od Yavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kolam.
Thank you. Anton. I forgot the last slide. Can we do that now? You're going to like this one. It's a good one to do right before the offering. So Florence Scovel Shinn, some of you will know, was an awesome New Thought teacher. And here is one of her many beautiful affirmations for prosperity. Could we read this together? Would you read this with me? You ready? All that is mine by divine right is now released and reaches me in great avalanches of abundance under grace in miraculous ways. Woohoo! All that is mine. So, yeah, money. Yeah, love. Yeah, creativity. Yeah, health. Yeah, to all of it. Avalanches under grace, meaning we've talked about grace recently, given freely. I don't have to earn it. I don't have to do anything. When I release my prayer into the law, I don't have to make it happen. I let it happen, right? It's my consciousness that creates, not my actions. Not that I can't be guided to take action, but under grace in miraculous ways, ways I might not even think of. All right. Sure, and I'll put it in the newsletter. How's that? All right. So now it is time for our tithes and offerings. I'm going to invite you, if you're giving, we're going to have plastic Benjamins soon. We don't have them yet. Come on forward, please, ushers. Thank you, Morel and Terry, for ushering today. And thank you to those online who also give on our website, cslroguevalley.org. So just a big thank you to those who continue to support us, both in tithes and also buying chairs so that we can complete our sanctuary decor here in comfort. Let's say our affirmation together. Graciously, I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. Thank you. Isn't it amazing he can play the keyboards and the harmonica at the same time? Nicely done. All right, time for a few announcements. So Drumming Circle is happening here after service today with Will. So please feel free to join him in the fun. We're also having I am leading the prospective new members class. So this is a time for you to come, if you're not officially a member, to find out what the heck does it mean to be an official member, and to decide whether or not that's something you would like to do. So what are the rights and expectations of a member? It'll be probably about an hour and 15 minutes, not terribly long, and we're going to meet. Well, how many of you plan to come to the meeting? Did you raise your hand? Okay, yeah. Okay, so we'll meet in the front office. I'll let the drummers be in here, because we're going to be a small group, but this is an important thing to do. And if you're not sure, just come, and have a look. Have a listen. Men's group will meet tomorrow, yes, at 11 a.m. Yeah. Thank you. So those who would like to pay tribute to Matt Belzano, please show up tomorrow at 11. Thank you, Alan. The Travel Club has several activities planned, including an easy hike picnic at Tuvell Park on Saturday, this coming Saturday the 5th from 10 to noon. Please check the newsletter. There's a lot more going on. I'm not going to announce every single thing that's going on weekly. I mean, we always have Tai Chi. We always have the poetry group right now, so check your newsletter. The big news is, as I mentioned earlier, we are doing a fundraiser, Buy a Chair. We need 20 more chairs to complete the 80 seating capacity of this sanctuary. And so we're asking people that would like to pay $50 to buy a chair, or $100 to buy two. They're actually costing us a little more than that, because we're going to get racks underneath so we can put the envelopes, and we're going to possibly pay a little shipping. But $50 will almost cover the cost of a chair, and it would be great if you have it within you to contribute to that. And we'll do a little celebration for those who are generous in that regard. Now, I mentioned last week, Melissa Felipe and Z Egloff will be here Sunday, October 13th to do our music and message. They are awesome, as those of you who have ever heard them know. And on Saturday, October 12th, I think it's 6:30, they are doing a concert, a benefit concert. Half the proceeds go to them, half to us. You do not want to miss these two. They're amazing. So mark your calendars. As always, you can sign up for the weekly e-newsletter in there. Our prayer box is in the back corner. Don't leave here with a heavy heart, because I'm going to ask our practitioners and ministers in the room to come up. Karen is here. They're available for prayer after service. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to do a little benediction, and then we'll break for a bite to eat. Michael Sunday has prepared food again, and we will do that. And then about by 12, hopefully, we'll do drumming and our prospective new members class. Okay, practitioners, come on up. For benediction, I've chosen this quote from our founder of Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes. And then we'll turn it over to Anton for our closing song. Here and now, we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. And how much of it may we have to use? As much of it as we can embody. And so it is.
I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world. I love you, I bless you, thank you for being in the world.